Today I'm sharing a collaboration with Arkaar Creation and the YouTube artist Natasha Newton. I'm showcasing Natasha's Beachcomber palette, and these are the 8 colors. Aren't they beautiful? This is my first time working with Arkaar Creation handmade watercolors, and I'm really enjoying them. They're really smooth. They work fantastic. I love some of these colors are granulating. I'll bring them up to show you. And we're going to work with her palette here. I'm going to show you a fun way to mix colors and see what colors we can mix with this as the base. And then I'm going to paint an oil can, a new find of mine. Look how cool it is. And I absolutely love this color. And then off of the oil can it's hanging an owl. Now these are 2 brush holders with little owls on them, and I'm choosing to paint this one because this one has green, and I really didn't want the green since that's kind of a yellow-green can. I thought I would use a little more of the raw sienna color here. So I'm using this one, but aren't they adorable? I will have the links for the owls. You get, I believe it's 6 owls. They're all so charming. So if you have an art friend, buy them and send them off as presents. That's what I did with the other 4. So let me introduce you to the colors first. This is Castle Earth, Buff Titanium, Limonite, Verdant, Vintage Green, Shadow, Fossil, and Sepia. And I'm going to bring you close so you can see how beautiful they are. Do you see the Verdant there? It has several colors. The Shadow and the Fossil also have several colors. So does the Sepia, in fact. I love those. So what I have here in this next little 9 block, I want to work with this yellow because I'm trying to achieve a color like this. So I'm going to try it with the green. I also want to try it really with this, the Vintage Green and the Verdant. But I also want to see that nice dark shadow there. So I want to see what color I can get with that. So the way I do this is this color plus this color is going to equal this. So we're going to start there. When using handmade watercolor, I like to put a drop of water on each one. Most of them encourage you to do that. This one here, this Fossil, takes a little bit more. So I'm just going to dot that. Let them just sit there for a couple seconds. I've got my Limonite and all of the wells here. So I want to mix some Buff Titanium with one of them. And I want them to stay on the yellow side. Remember, I'm trying to discover a dirtier yellow. That's really pretty. So I want to mix between these 2. You can see it's a little duller, and that's because the Buff Titanium takes away the intensity of that. Very pretty. I'm going to bring you a little closer so you can see that a little better. Okay, now we have the Limonite with Verdant. Remember, I want it to stay on the yellow. And that one, it separates, has a little bit of the yellow in it. You can see if I would have kept adding green, this would have taken a green cast. And because I'm looking for a yellow, I wanted it to stay on the yellow. So I just made sure the mix had more yellow than green. Now we've got Shadow plus Limonite. It's a very bold color. You would just see how that just really made it nice and deep, but it's still on the yellow side. It's a nice shadow color. And purple and yellow are across from the color wheel, so they kind of gray each other out. So you either get a gray or you get a brown. And I would say this is more on the brownish side. I'm gonna splash those 3 since I splashed the rest. Okay, our last color is Limonite and Vintage Green. I'm excited about this Vintage Green. It's a pretty color. It's a dark color. So not a lot of color here. Let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah. Still on the yellow side. Now when this is dry, I will add little lines to that and I'll come back and show you that. But for right now, what I'm going to do is look at my can here and let's pick a color. Which one do you think is the closest? I really like the tone of this one. It seems the dirtiest. However, that one looks quite nice as well. So I might use that for maybe to start, but then this to go a little deeper. So I need to mix a pretty big puddle of, I think, this one, and then we will mix a little bit of that. And I will do that and I'll come back. Okay, I've mixed up the piles. This one is this one, and this one is this one. And this was the last one I mixed, so I already have some of this on my brush, and I'm gonna start with that one. Just because I don't want to rinse all that paint off, because I know I've got a good saturation on my brush here. This journal is a handmade journal, and it has Fabriano Studio paper in it. Cold press. 90 pound. Oh, that's pretty. I'm going to pick up some of that lighter color now. You can see it's just a little more bright, more intense, I should say. Going to go into that dark, and I'm going to add a little more of that vintage green. There we go. While that's still wet, I'm going to just go along the edge. Notice that this edge has a little wider, so the light is coming from this way. With that same color now, I'm going to come up here. All of this is really yellow up here. I want that little line brighter there. Let's add a nice dark here. Come in with a smaller brush and add some of that yellow. Okay, I've got the outside here now. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but it's pretty bright in the middle here. Let me pull that down just a little. When I splash, I dip 3 fingers into my first knuckle, clean water, and then I kind of hold this one and then I flick down. If it's too wet, the water just makes it kind of push to the edge. If it's too dry, you're not going to get the movement. I've got kind of a dry patch right in here, so I'm just going to touch my finger down there and help that move along. And I'm going to paint the rest of the spout here. So I've got this really long spout here. While this side is still pretty damp, I want to add a little bit of the fossil into there and limonite. Just mix it together because remember, I still want it on the yellow side. I don't want to change it to that brown. I've worked really hard to get this color that I have. I touch a little bit of that vintage green in there as well. Notice I'm not taking it all the way to the edge. I'm just coming in just a little bit, just to make a little darker shadow edge, but not to the edge of it. Just water on my brush. Some of that dark I want to touch up here on the nozzle. And under here, I don't know if you saw this, but there is a little part under here that you can see. See how dark that is? That looks so nice. Okay, while that's drying, let's go to our little bird here. So I've got this little blue bird. I'm going to do him in buff titanium, but then I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow plus sepia and see if I can get kind of this orange color. The sepia here, you can see it's more of an orange. It kind of looks like a burnt sienna to me, but I love that little orange richness to it. So let's see what kind of color we can get up here. Let me move this. Let's go into the limonite. Now let's touch a little bit of the sepia in there. Oh yeah. A little more limonite. Okay, buff titanium first. He's so cute. I'm going over his eyeglasses and his nose and stuff. We can come back to that. Okay, the log, I am going to do this dark color. I've got that color fossil, and I think that'll look nice. Since we added fossil here, I think it'll look nice down there as well. And you can see it's a lot darker here, so it's going to really make you notice this little guy. Rinsing my brush now with just water on it. I lost my dark edge over here. I'm touching it to the outside so that it kind of, so the outer edge, and then it's kind of seeping in as it dries a little bit. See how the water's pulling it in? That's what I wanted. This guy's got a little bit of yellow on his chest as well. I'm going to touch a little bit of that sepia color that I added in there. Look how cute that is, little on his shoulders. Okay, I have this little gray thing here. So this little nozzle piece, you can see it's like a blue metal. So I want to try with the shadow color here. Shadow, so this color is blue, and I'm going to try it with the fossil and see what those two come up with. I'm not sure if they're going to come out gray or not, so that's what we're going to try. Just my brush and a little bit of water on it. While this is still wet, I'm going to pull some of that color out of his eyes. There we go. I'm going to dry this and then I'll be back. While this page is kind of cooling down, after blow drying, you never want to go directly to your piece because the paper and everything is really hot, and what that means is the water is just gonna like be absorbed right away into your paper and not be able to move. So while this is cooling, I want to show you the marks that I added here. From this color, I drew 4 lines to each of the corner blocks because remember, those were the ones that we were mixing with. And then from this one, so this plus this, there's a little plus mark, there's a hoop line equals this. This plus this equals this. This plus this equals this. This plus this equals this. And that's what my little lines look like on there. See the little plus and the equals? That way, if I come to this page 10 years from now, I'll know what I did. I'll be able to understand that just by those simple markings. You could also write it longhand too, whatever you wanted to write. But for me, sometimes symbols are just the easiest way to do something. Now back to this page, what I need to do is I need to add some dark darks. You can see here that this is really recessed underneath, and then these are, it's a screwed top, right? So it can be screwed, a lid can be screwed on it. So I want to put those grooves in there. And then I want to deepen. Look how dark that part right there, that little spout thing is. Look how dark it is in there. I want to make sure that it comes across as being underneath it. Right now it does not. It should be this dark. So I'm going to bring you just a little bit closer. I hope this doesn't get blurry on you, and I apologize if it does. I'm going back with the fossil, the green and the yellow. It's going to have less water now, so it's a little more concentrated. I do want a little bit of water because remember, this is watercolor. I'm going to have to turn it just a little bit. Checking the darkness there, that's nice. See how that deepened that? Really nice, so you know now that that's in shadow. I'm going to lighten that little edge right there with my finger. Just a touch. Look at how pretty that turned out. Whew. I was holding my breath there. So now I've got to straighten this bottom line. It's a bit messy, so let's see if I can straighten that out. There is a little cutout here. Can you see that little flipping edge right there? So it is where the flange on the bottom here connects this. So where this sets into that. So these are on the outside. I want to add just a little bit of shadow there. I'm going to use that same darkness, and I'm just going to kind of outline it. As it comes down here, I can let it be a little more relieved. So it just gives it a nice little shadow there. I am going to shadow these a little bit more. Just water on my brush now and soften those out. Okay, this is a screw that holds that little, what is that, like a nozzle? Where that screw is, I want to deepen that a little bit as well. So I'm going to just take some shadow for that. A little bit of water now. Let's soften that out. That looks nice. Okay, I've got one more area here where this little screw part is, the screw end here. I want to make that have a darkness just like that. There we go. Okay, let's work on our little owl. I want to see what the shadow color, which is that bluish, and the buff titanium does. I need it a little bluer. Look how cute. Now notice that I didn't really use any other color. Like I didn't just take sepia by itself. I wanted the glasses to kind of match this handle. Notice that I didn't use just the shadow by itself because it's way too violet. You can see it right there. It's way too intense and too violet, and it would really gain your attention here. I'm using a little bit of that sepia that we mixed up on with the yellow. Just, I want to deepen his chest just a little bit here. And then I'm going to use the Castle Earth, which is the really dark brown and a little bit of that blue, the shadow. I need to make a nice dark for his eyes, just the little pupil of his eyes there. I like that dark so much, I'm going to use that on the bottom here of that little screw. And I'm going to also use that for his feet. Now with the bright yellow, I want to fill in his beak. And then I'm going to mix that same gray. I've got a little bit here on my palette. And that's what I'm going to do the string lines. So I'm going to turn my book. I find it easier to pull my lines this way, going away from me, than towards me. Gonna bring in a little darker shadow, just the darker color, kind of what I use for the glasses. Let's take a look. Look how cute he is. Oh my gosh, I love that. So with these 8 colors, and us just playing with one color and seeing what the other 4 will do. So we played with this color and we mixed these 4 here to see what they would equal. And it gave us the perfect color for this. Look how well it matched. Isn't that beautiful? Of course, I prefer the texture. And look how cute and charming he is. I could use a little darker brown under there, and I'll probably just use that darker color that I used under there to get that really sharp line on the bottom of the branch. But I really love the way he turned out. If you are inspired by today's content, please like, comment, or subscribe. And in the comments, I would really love to know which part you found interesting. Was it the painting? Was it the way that I color mixed? Was it the whole idea of connecting the colors within the design? Let me know your thoughts so that I can bring you more of the content that you want to see on this channel. Thanks so much for watching.